Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. We are recapping what went down this weekend against the St. Louis Cardinals, and this episode is a little different than we have been accustomed to over the last year or so when going live, but because of the 4th of July, and for the 1 billionth time, if you've been following over the last few shows, that yes, I was in Miami for my bachelor party over the weekend, so there was a lot going on, and it was a little bit different of a viewing experience, if you will, but there is still a ton to talk about. There's a lot to dissect with this current team, and let's break it all down. From a very broad point of view, you take 2 or 3 from St. Louis, and that's a tough series. Nolan Arenado was raking, cycle, home runs galore, snatching your soul in Game 2 of this series, so there was a lot of drama in that regard, and they're a damn good baseball team. So for you to bounce back from a disappointing series against Atlanta, I give them a ton of respect, knowing the Washington Nationals are up next, and you better handle business like you did last time, and then right back at it, but this time in St. Louis. And I say right back at it in regards to having to face this tough squad once again, but at this time in their ballpark. And that's going to mean a lot to me. That's going to show me a ton about who this baseball team is. I did learn a lot from their fight back. Game 1 against the Cardinals, they fought back after falling behind. In Game 2 of this series, they fought back after that horrendous start by Gibson, where it's back to back to back to back, and I'm seeing the ball just go all over the map, and, you know, they kept climbing, they kept scoring, they kept doing some things. Unfortunately, Nolan Arenado snags it from you in the 9th, but I do value that, and I'm going to value a ton what they do in Busch Stadium. I don't want to overlook the Nationals, though, because you do that, bad things happen. One step at a time, I understand that. A weird off day on the 4th of July, but this team needs a nice little breather, a nice little how do you do. There's a lot of baseball fans disappointed in that. And yeah, obviously I would love to see the Phillies play on July 4th. I'm looking more at the main focus here, which is I want this team in the best position possible to succeed. And an off day, all right, I'll be satisfied with going to the family and eating some burgers, hot dogs, drinking some cold ones. Let's move the hell on after that day is over, and we'll get to some baseball. All right? All right. So, look, when you tie this together with the Atlanta series, though, 3-3 doesn't satisfy me. 4-2, one more win. That's all I'm asking for. One more win in that 6-game sample size, and that means the world of a difference when you study what a 6-game series at home could be, or a 6-game stretch, I should say, with that being the case. So, of course, there are still more home games to come, but I look at that 2 series a lot differently than I look at the Washington Nationals, with all due respect to their horrendous squad. And then, oh, by the way, the news about Juan Soto and where he is at currently with his availability and his injury. Just something to monitor, of course. And speaking of injuries, we already talked about the news with Zach Eflin. The knee is constantly bothering him, and it does concern me for the long run here of what Zach Eflin is. But then Ranger Suarez with back spasms. Can they hold the fort down until the trade deadline with Christopher Sanchez and with Bailey Falter? To be fair, they did win Game 1 5-3 with Bailey Falter out there, and he was frustrated in the dugout after a couple runs were scored, and he was pounding. It looked like he was throwing his glove, or he was pounding the bench area in the dugout because he was frustrated. He went 4 innings, allowing 3 earned runs. Your offense is going to have to carry you, basically, and Rhys Hoskins did hit a big-time homer, and Derek Hall did hit a big-time home run in the 6th and the 7th innings to win the baseball game. And I love the fact before, Moniak doubled, which was amazing. I'm seeing him double in the gap. He knocked in a run. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But when plays needed to be made, Kyle Schwarber grounds out to the right side, which knocks in a run. Guys are moving along the base paths. Then, bang, what do you know? You have Rhys Hoskins fly out to deep center field, which is scoring a run. Not sexy, but finding ways to do little things and details, which then helps you. You wing it, put the ball in play, hit it to the right side, get it deep. Warning track power, just above warning track power, so it's a no-brainer. It's a lock. It's an automatic. There's no what if at the plate. It's just bada bing, bada boom, moving guys over, scoring runs, old-fashioned way. You got to do it in different ways. But your offense helping you out when you have a Bailey Falter, when you have a Christopher Sanchez. There's a big difference playing some of these good teams and maybe getting by with the Washington Nationals when you look forward. They were able to beat St. Louis at home with that being the case, but can they do it on the road, or can they do it when they see different teams out there? It's not something that's sustainable long-term, but it's just getting you through this next month until you get basically to that trade deadline. And maybe you call Chicago. I know nobody wants to hear this name, but David Robertson is a name that's absolutely phenomenal and doing fantastic. You always have the bottom barrel teams such as the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Baltimore Orioles. There's a lot of different ways Dave Dombrowski can go. Ian Happ is a name as well when you think about Chicago. Maybe you can do something similar to what we saw last season when you moved on from Spencer Howard, but you acquired a Kyle Gibson. You acquired an Ian Kennedy. So you're bringing in two guys with one move. Can you do that with the Chicago Cubs? Guess what? There's a lot of teams, though, possibly thinking the same thing, and Dave Dombrowski needs to go after an arm. Montas, think about where he is currently with his last start, and is he going to have as much appeal because of maybe his availability? You need starting pitching help big time because your depth is super thin. You need help with starting pitching. Or excuse me, I just said that. Hello, welcome back. You're in New Jersey. You're in the Philadelphia area. You're not in Miami where there's a lot of palm trees and a lot of yachts going on with a lot of people dancing in the clubs. Anyway, getting back on track. You think about this. Bullpen. Outfield. I was listening to Jim Salisbury. I know this is a little bit off topic, but it's in regard to Derek Hall. And by the way, phenomenal, right? Love the fact that he could swing, and it seems like there's a legitimate power in what he brings to the table. But because of the current makeup and the current build of who the Philadelphia Phillies are, Nick Castellanos and his DH availability, and Kyle Schwarber, his ability to be a DH, and Alec Boehm and Rhys Hoskins and possibly JT Realmuto down the road, is Derek Hall's future here with Philadelphia? And when I heard him kind of speak about that, I was like, whoa, it was him and Corey Seidman. I go, really? Is that sort of the feel? Is that sort of where they're at? And, I mean, it does make sense. And I get it. This is somewhat a little bit not in regards to where they are currently at and who the Phillies are right now, because right now with the lack of Bryce Harper, there is an opportunity for him to make some noise and continue to rake. And I'm not going to tell you what he will be just because of a couple games and 3 hits, 3 bombs, and that's the way he kind of start things out. And it's amazing. And by the way, when he crushes it, he crushes it. These aren't whoopsie daisies. These aren't, hey, they're just getting over the wall. We're talking 962 feet. We're talking 876 feet with a nice slow trot around the bases. So this is all beautiful and all fantastic and seriously squaring it up with lethal damage to it. It's real. It's absolute missiles. So it's fantastic. What's the long run? What's the long hope of Derek Hall? Very fascinating and sort of raised my eyebrows a bit. But in regards to what pieces you can move to acquire some of these guys, the Mick Abels of the world, the Andrew Painters of the world, no. But what about an O'Hoppe? What about a Logan down in the minors and something along those lines? Is there any sex appeal with that? And I don't know. I guess we'll kind of have to find out. But Dave Dombrowski needs to look at this, and they are within wild card striking distance. It's going to be fascinating. Can they hold the fort down? I've been saying it for a while now. Yes, I believe they do have what it takes to give this team a competitive effort to stay involved with the rest of the squads. And if they don't make the playoffs, even with the Bryce Harper injury, I will be extremely devastated because I feel there's enough on this roster. I'm watching Nick Castellanos sometimes do a little something here and there. Now, there is a lack of focus when it comes to being on the base paths. A few times he should be getting one more base, an extra base. He's not. He's celebrating with the bench, or he just doesn't seem like going to second. It looked like he was staring down the play the entire time when the ball is getting thrown around the diamond. I don't know what's going on there, but I guess you got to take it within where we're at here, and you're just excited that he drives in a run or he's excited to get a run across home plate. But I do think that there is a little bit of a lack of focus where those are tiny details that matter. You're on second base. Now it changes how the defensive alignment could be for your next hitter. And while that doesn't seem like the biggest deal in the world, it does change possibly what goes down in an inning. You see, when you have two outs and home runs are happening left and right, home run, home run, home run, home run. Well, guess what? I mean, it does matter. Every single out matters. Every single detail matters. So I do demand more out of Nick Castellanos. I demand more out of Kyle Gibson. His last two starts were extremely frustrating. And whether you could say, oh, all right, he was able to hold the fort after that. Nope. No, that was an abysmal start. And while the Phillies did fight back and tie the game up, and whether it's Munoz or it's Bryson Stott, and by the way, Bryson Stott's defense over the weekend, one play, he's going behind second base, he's throwing off balance, bang, out at first base. There was another time he dives to his left, he gets up, he makes an excellent throw, super close play at first, wasn't able to get the job done, but it wasn't for a lack of beautiful effort that gets a lot of guys done, or gets a lot of guys out in that sequence. It's more just you're busting it down the line with someone who could really run and you tip your cap. But those type of plays are difference-making plays, and it stings that Didi Gregorius is out again. And yeah, I say that because it is a lefty bat that is important in my eyes, and it seems it's more important in my eyes than some Phillies fans out there. But I don't know. I mean, the lack of power is clearly hurting Didi Gregorius, and now there is another injury. It's like Zach Eflin for me right now. It's I can never trust just because I don't know if his jersey will be hung up because is he healthy or is he not, or how banged up is he? It's constantly something that's keeping him out of the lineup, and that is damaging in my eyes for him. No doubt about it. Bullpen in that game one, by the way. 2 Ks. You got Nelson, Jose, Bilotti, Dominguez, Brad Hand. Awesome. Electric stuff out of your pen to pick up Bailey Falter after his 4 innings. And I love game 3, too. I mean, you talk about a shutout performance. Zach Wheeler going 7. Not a ton of strikeouts, but just doing the things he needs to do. Rhys Hoskins, power once again. He's on a roll the past 30 days or so. JT Realmuto hits a home run, which is magnificent. So he's still kind of, he looks better. I mean, there's no doubt about it that he is looking better. He is looking more consistent. Knable in the 9th inning with nasty curveballs, getting Nolan Arenado to fall on one knee. Getting it done to get the 3rd out on a curveball as well. Citizens Bank Park goes crazy. Sunday Night Baseball, July 3rd. A ton of fans going bonkers, and it was just a really good showing out of not only the fan base in the city, and it was nice to see that many people fired up and inspired to watch themselves some Phillies baseball, but the Phillies showed up on a national stage as well and really, you know, showed the world that there's some fight here without Bryce Harper. And I talk about the identity of who they are and things of that nature, and I tie that specifically to the manager in Rob Thompson because we don't know. We don't have the answers necessarily on who Rob Thompson is. With this team, they're still learning, right? They're still learning who they are without Bryce Harper. So I look at the 2-game series together as 3-3, and while it could be better, it could be a lot worse too, and I'll take it for what it is, but I'm so sick and tired of being satisfied with 500 because that's the definition of this franchise. I'm trying to move the bar and move the needle. So without Bryce, and it's still being new of who they are, and they have to find ways to win, and they do have an above 500 record without Bryce Harper in totality. I will take that right now, but I will continue to move that bar up as we get more games played because that's what I have to do. Unfortunately for them, they're losing bodies and they're losing starting pitching. And yeah, you're relying on the Christopher Sanchez's and you're relying on the Bailey Falters, and that is true. But you pay the big bucks. I have to be honest with you. You have a Kyle Schwarber. It's July now. Will the home runs keep up in at least a little bit of some noise here? I really hope so. Nick Castellanos, JT, I'm a broken record when it comes to those two. Rhys Hoskins, when the team seems to be going on a hot stretch, there's a big correlation with Rhys Hoskins delivering and coming up large, knocking in runs, showing his power, and he's waking up a bit. I watched Alec Boehm hit a triple. Oh, by the way, opposite field, and it was just a couple inches away from going over opposite field power. That's huge if that can turn around, but you see him get a triple in this series. What is Alec Boehm? I'm going to not move the needle and say, a lot of talent on this team. Give me high competitive baseball. And while they did lose game 2, I have to admire that there is fight in them without the top guy, number 3. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. When they lose, it's what's it worth that they keep fighting back? If they're not winning, it's irrelevant. Fair point. Thought process number 2 is if this keeps happening over and over again, and they keep showing that it doesn't matter how many outs there are, it doesn't matter how many innings are left, it doesn't matter what the score is, what's that 5-0 early, doesn't matter. Bottom of the lineup will step up. Bryson Stott will get an RBI. He's only hitting 185 on the season. But it does seem like his 185 has some bigger moments, has a nice RBI in there, has some crucial timing on it. So I'm not telling you that I'm going to be satisfied with a 185 hitter out of Bryson Stott forever, but just knowing the circumstances and sort of that gut feel and just that vibe that I get out of him, I point out a big RBI. I point out a double. I point out things that really matter and seem to spark something or help out big time within that 185 batting average. And just hopefully over time, he just continues to build that confidence and stay steady at the plate where that can continue to improve and go up. And we start to flirt with the 200 and then it's like 220. And now we can just keep creeping his way. But his defense is stellar too, which just like with Castellanos, we talked about his inability to play defense and how I feel that impacted him at the plate. Well, maybe it could be a positive for Bryson Stott to keep those things rolling in the positive direction, of course, defensively, and then maybe it can turn into something awesome on the offensive side. We'll continue the great conversation, but of course, injuries happen, and when they do, you need someone who is going to fight for the justice you deserve. And that's my friend Zach Green at the Javerbaum Law Firm. Zach Green is an experienced personal injury attorney who will personally handle your case if you or a loved one have been injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or if you have been the victim of medical malpractice. Consultations are always free, and he can be reached at 609-790-3895. Zach grew up in the Philadelphia area and has a deep understanding of the personality of his sports fans. He is a 4-for-4 guy who will stand up for your rights and fight for you. When you are hurt, you need a lawyer that is not afraid to go toe for toe with the insurance companies to get you the compensation you deserve. If you've been hurt, call Zach at 609-790-3895 or email him at zgreen@lawjw.com. You can visit his website in the description down below. Okay, so Didi. Bryson Stott. With Bryson Stott's 185 batting average, that defense is sharp, and there's something to be said about knowing that you fit, knowing that this is your position. And maybe there is some competitive fire with Bryson Stott with some time at shortstop to say, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to be the future shortstop of the Philadelphia Phillies. So with Didi out of the lineup, this is where I'm at. I hate to do this. You know where I stand with the man who plays third base more often than not. But I did watch Matt Vierling play there, and I thought there was a nice double play that was turned. And even with Nolan Arenado at one point, who had a really nice very hard contact down third base side, but he couldn't get his glove down and allowed a base runner. I'm just like, oh, Bohm, come on. And I get it. I nitpick. I'm pointing out 2 plays. There was also an Alec Bohm nice jump up where he jumped up in the air. A nice jump up. What type of description is that? Some nice hops. He got up there. He made a nice play in that department too. So there were some other things that were positive in his direction. I'm just saying, when I see a Matt Vierling or other players play at third base and plays are made and I feel Alec Bohm would screw up, I point it out in my head because that's what I do, and I hate to break it to you, but that ain't going anywhere. And every time I hear maybe Bohm one day will move to the other side of the diamond, and I see Rhys Hoskins play this well, I go, I'm taking Rhys Hoskins every day over Alec Bohm. Still, to this point, I just have to say it. It's the truth. When this team rolls, the correlation with Rhys is so insane that I can't get over it. I just can't get over it. The Rhys Hoskins and the team rolling correlation is wild, even dating back to last season. I guess I'll do this, and I didn't really plan to, and it would be nice if I had my phone And I don't know why my phone wouldn't be here, and it should be here. So where is it? This is strange and bizarre. Really? I just don't have my phone on me? I don't feel like that's normal. So is it on the floor? Is it behind me? All right. Never mind. I guess nobody's going to get the conversation. I guess I could pull it up on my computer. Does it have to be my phone? Maybe we should use my brain a little more often. This is courtesy of Anthony Sanfilippo, who put up a piece about the Phillies over the weekend. And it talks a lot about Rhys Hoskins, what happened last season. Rhys Hoskins is quietly leading Phillies' latest surge. Thoughts after the Phillies and Cardinals 4-0. I'm going to read you a little bit of this because I do find it fascinating. This one was a little different than normal. It was more than a week or two. It started in a series against the San Diego Padres over 4th of July weekend. Hoskins had entered the game on July 3rd with a miserable 1-for-30 slump in which he had struck out 14 times. His splits had plummeted to 221, 295, 740, and he was hardly providing the pop in the middle of the lineup behind Harper that the team needed if it was going to contend. But then the hot string started and Rhys Lightning emerged. Over the next 21 games, Hoskins was sensational. He slashed .324, .460, .1210 with 17 extra base hits, including 6 homers. He had 19 RBIs and walked the same amount of times that he struck out, which was 17. Not surprisingly, his offensive explosion helped get the Phillies back into contention. They were only 12-9 in those 21 games, but the NL East was wide open. The Mets, who were leading the division, were floundering. The Braves, who didn't go on their tear until a couple weeks later, were still mourning the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr. for the season. The division was there for the Phillies to take if they can just keep their offense going. In those 21 games, the Phillies averaged 5.5 runs per game. In the 79 priors, they averaged just 4.3 runs per game. Hoskins was making a difference. So this was dating back to last season, of course. Going to 2022, from June 12th to July 3rd, 88 plate appearances. He's basically in the same exact spot of that span that I just referenced in 2021. These numbers are so similar. Listen to this. 2021, during that 21-game stretch, 87 plate appearances, hitting .324 with a 1210 OPS, 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, 17 extra base hits, 17 walks. 2022, 88 plate appearances, hitting the exact same .324 batting average, this time with an 1133 OPS, so not far off. Same amount of home runs in 6, 13 RBI, 13 extra base hits, and 16 walks. Crazy. And the same exact record, 12-9 in those 21 games. The difference last year, the MVP batting in front of Hoskins. This year, he's been missing for the past 8 games. And, by the way, Gene Segura. So I just find it fascinating, and I thought it was interesting to see how similar those numbers really were and the impact of Rhys Hoskins. You can say, well, bro, hold on a second. Their record isn't very good, so how are you correlating 12-9 over 21 games as something absolutely amazing? It's just Rhys Hoskins has the ability to carry this team when you dive into the numbers a little bit more than I think he gets credit for. This will be my last point on this. When you compare Hoskins since May 8th to the rest of Major League Baseball, he ranks in the top 25 in the following categories: 6th in OPS, 6th in home runs, 7th in slugging, 12th for walks, 14th for OBP, 14th in hits, 18th in RBI, 23rd in runs, and 25th in batting average at .289. I don't know if he's getting the praise that he deserves for this run that he's on since May 8th. And if we're going to continue to look at how this team wins and how this team is going to do it, Rhys Hoskins has to show up as well as these other names that we've been screaming about for quite some time. We can't let them slide, and it's going to be a collective group of a lot of individuals, which makes up for what you can in Bryce Harper missing. And apparently Bryce Harper is going to speak on Tuesday after the surgery happened. So we'll hear from him. Not that I'm expecting anything to wow us completely, but there is something in it just from hearing Bryce Harper speak and his voice. So really that's where I'm at. I'm proud of the team for their big accomplishment of winning the series against the Cardinals. I look at the two series together and I go, a little underwhelmed. I look at the bounce back response from losing and looking so flat against the Braves, and I go, that's fantastic. But you do need more than 3-3. 4-2 is a big time difference in a 6-game sample size against two teams that are in the race with you for the NL wildcard spot. We'll take it. It's fine, but we'll need more. You have Washington. You have a road series against St. Louis. You have the Toronto Blue Jays in a quick 2-game hit, too. Marlins, which has always been your kryptonite. So some teams to really look at, not diving too deep and too far ahead, but something to monitor, which is what teams are coming up. And your starting pitching is super thin. There's a ton of injuries happening where you were a little bit better of a spot now, where we talked about the Yankees and the Phillies getting the most out of their starting five. It's looking to collapse, and can your offense carry you over your limitations in that area? And if they do fail, will it be a night where Nick Nelson steps up, where Bilotti steps up, Brad Hand steps up, or will it be one of those nights where you got to turn the page big time and you get destroyed because it seems like whatever number you call out of your bullpen just doesn't have it on that particular outing? There seems to be more life in that department, and it seems to be more guys doing a better job than what we saw earlier throughout the season, where it was collapsing constantly. If Knebel can get a curveball back, he did have the one game where a tough spot. He ended up walking one batter, but did get some good outs, but that walked batter happened with bases loaded, so the Cardinals did take the lead. The Phillies did tie it back up after that, but the Knebel that has a curveball and some electricity, I know it's in there. He's a damn good pitcher, and we need him to shine. So let's just build off of this. Sir Anthony did allow the home run to Nolan. Good player, as if he's not an elite player. Nolan Arenado is playing phenomenal baseball, getting on base every single way, cycles, you name it, destroying the cover off the ball. So sometimes you just realize that great players are going to make great plays and do some dirty things to you. Nolan Arenado did that. He put on a show, especially after he's fired up and pissed off on a check swing, gets called out, not happy, screaming at the top of his lungs, and then delivers later on. I mean, that's what special players do. And that's why when Bryce Harper hits a grand slam, it's a walk-off, does his thing. You know, you got to embrace the awesomeness. Unfortunately, it happens the other way at times. But collectively, as a bullpen, I feel better about them now than I have earlier. And let's just hope this thing continues to ride, and we'll see what happens next. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Also, utilize that promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout if you're a new user for $20 off. Eliminates all those fees, so get yourself to a game today. Lastly, TikTok, Twitter, social media, at Broads Media. Hit the follow button. Thank you guys so much.